Thank you so much, Richard, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for that greeting and welcome. You're on the land of the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and thank you particularly to Uncle Alan for his acknowledgement of country earlier on. I acknowledge the traditional owners of the land that we're meeting on, and I pay my respect to elders past and present, and I acknowledge the Indigenous peoples who join us this evening from all over the world. Can I also recognise the President of ICOMOS, Professor Teresa Patrizio, senior leaders of the General Assembly and ICOMOS Australia, the New South Wales Minister for the Environment and Heritage, Penny Sharp, and a special welcome to all of our international guests, especially our keynote speaker, Her Royal Highness Princess Dana Faraz of Jordan. I would say to the Princess, I've been to your beautiful country twice, and I see how well you've preserved the internationally important heritage that you have in Jordan. Members of ICOMOS, champions of cultural heritage, distinguished guests from all around the world, it is a pleasure to welcome you here to Sydney this week, on the shores of our beautiful harbour and in the halls of our Opera House, immediately recognisable and uniquely Australian. Australia was one of the first countries in the world to ratify the World Heritage Convention almost 50 years ago. It helped that our Prime Minister at the time was a man called Gough Whitlam, who spoke Greek, Latin, French and Italian. Gore Vidal once called him Australia's smartest man. I tend to agree with that assessment, and knowing Gough Whitlam, I think he would have agreed with that assessment too. Gough Whitlam was a trained classicist who loved the ancient world, and after leaving the Prime Ministership, he and his brilliant wife, Margaret, were Australia's representatives to UNESCO in Paris. But it wasn't just Gough who inspired the decision to ratify the World Heritage Convention. It was the Australian people he led. Because living in a place like this with 65,000 years of human history, a place where culture is written on the landscape, you do get a useful perspective on things. When you take the time to look around you, you get a feel for the length of the human story and of our place within it. If you walk around this harbour, you will find rock art and other evidence of Indigenous habitation going back tens of thousands of years. You will find proof of the brutality endured by convicts transported in overcrowded hulks from the Thames to the shores of this strange new world. You will find evidence of colonisation, of industrialisation, of migration, and the building of military defences through 2 world wars. Wherever you go in this country, you will find cultural landscapes like this, reflecting the deep history of this continent and the people who have lived here. The Tasmanian World Heritage Area contains Indigenous rock art that was the first in the world to mix mammal blood with ochre. The fish traps in Brewarrina are some of the oldest human structures on Earth. The depth of this history is one of the reasons that we have embraced the World Heritage Project so enthusiastically here in Australia. It's why we've worked so hard to add 20 sites to the World Heritage List over the last 50 years. As Australians, these sites make us proud. But World Heritage is not an exercise in national pride or national competition. It's not a World Cup of history. It's right there in the name. It's World Heritage. I'm an Australian citizen born in Sydney, but my parents were born in Slovenia, and I've been lucky enough to travel back there, and I've visited amazing World Heritage sites there in the Alps, in caves, in the heart of Ljubljana itself. We've got any Slovenians in the audience? Yeah. We're very quiet people. These sites are beautiful by any standard, and they make me proud of the Slovenian part of my heritage too, but it goes beyond beauty, and it goes beyond personal connection with any place. We protect World Heritage places because they are valuable to all of humanity. When the Taliban destroyed the Buddhas of Bamiyan, the world wept, as we did here in Australia when mining company Rio Tinto destroyed the 46,000-year-old sacred caves at Jukin. We felt that pain because we lost something that belonged to all of us, a part of our shared history and our shared humanity. We live in an age of new technology, new media, new jobs, new ways of thinking, but for all of that, we still feel the need to maintain these living monuments to the past. We still feel determined to preserve these parts of our history. There's something deeply human in that need. Memory and history give weight and purpose to our lives. And when we lose that history, we lose something of ourselves with it. As human beings, we care about the past, we honour our ancestors, and we hold out the hope that one day people will look on our own work with the same curiosity and fascination. As the poet John Donne once wrote, "Any man's death diminishes me because I am involved in mankind." To qualify for World Heritage status, a site needs to show that it possesses outstanding universal value. The key word there is universal. It concerns everyone. Protecting our world's heritage speaks to our common humanity. It travels across borders, it translates between languages, it bridges the gap between generations. And by growing the bonds of empathy and understanding, it works as a force for peace in this world. Australia has a big vision for the next 50 years of World Heritage. We've just nominated the Murujuga Cultural Landscape, which contains one of the largest collections of Aboriginal rock art in the world. These pieces trace the songlines of the Ngarrindjeri people across the land and down onto the ocean's floor. Those petroglyphs on the ocean's floor were made when that ocean bed was dry land, showing the movement of deep time on this continent. The people who are leading that application today are direct descendants and knowledge holders of this ancient cultural landscape, separated by tens of thousands of years, but sharing customs, culture, and history. When the time comes, future generations will look at what our generation has created, at our art, our literature, our science, our commerce. And I hope that they will be able to judge that we made our world more peaceful, more prosperous, while dealing with threats like climate change. But as well as what we created, they will look also at what we have protected. Protecting our history and culture isn't about retreating into the past. It's something that we do for the future. The flame of history and memory have flickered before. It's come up against strong winds which have tried to blow it out. But standing here tonight, in this room full of passion and knowledge and expertise, I have no doubt that we will keep that fire burning for all those who come after us. Thank you.